Today's guest is not only a soccer legend, he's a son of the Caribbean, a World Cup hero, a trailblazer, and one of the most respected voices in global sports media. This is Shaka Hislop. Shaka Hislop is a former professional goalkeeper who proudly represented his country, Trinidad and Tobago, on the world stage at the FIFA World Cup. Today, he continues to shape the game as an iconic ESPN commentator and analyst. But on December 3rd, Shaka bravely revealed something far bigger than football, than soccer. He revealed to the world that he's been diagnosed with prostate cancer and he's currently undergoing treatment. Take a look.
I have a story to tell. Roughly 18 months ago, I went for my annual physical and insisted on a PSA test, as I always do. This time around, though, my PSA was elevated. An MRI and biopsy quickly determined that I had a fairly aggressive prostate cancer. A year ago, almost to the day, December 6th to be exact, I had a radical prostatectomy, and I thought that was it. But then, 6 months later, my PSA was again on the rise, and another scan showed that my prostate cancer had spread to my pelvic bone. I started on medication pretty soon after, and just this morning completed 7.5 weeks of radiation therapy. The journey continues.
Several years ago, during my own battle with breast cancer, Shaka appeared on my Caribbean television talk show, The Basia Show. He came to support me through my journey with breast cancer. Take a look.
No, real woman I crush on you, sir.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
No man, you retire, but you know, a real woman, serious. I'm just telling you, I have a crush on you too. My crush is so big, it's on you and Daisha, and the whole brood, the whole family.
I'm convinced that without my family, I wouldn't have had the relative success that I have.
Yeah? Are you ever planning to use your mechanical engineering degree?
No, that was...
So what do you do that for?
Well...
Today, I have the honor of sitting with him to support him through his journey. This is a Basia TV exclusive with legendary football, soccer player, broadcaster, husband, father, and warrior, Shaka Hislop. We'll be right back.
She is the #1 podcast host from the Caribbean, based in North America. Media mogul and the legend agent to the biggest names in international cricket. This is Basia TV Podcast with Basia Powell. This episode is brought to you by 124 Nut Out Sports Agency. Welcome to the next level. Basia TV Podcast starts right now.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's your girl Basia, and let's welcome the one and only Shaka Hislop.
Here I am.
Hey Shaka.
Pasha, how are you?
Listen, I'm taking a hard life easy, as I like to say.
You make it look easy. Good to see you again after all these years.
It's great to see you. I mean, this is a surreal moment for us, right, my friend? I have to hold it together because I'm like, you know, when I saw this announcement, I'm like, what the hell? Like, no, this is crazy. What is he saying? You know, listen to me. This was really shocking. And before I even go into it, let's just tell our global audience that you are no stranger to the Basia brand. As I said earlier, it's a surreal moment. We first started off with magazine when you and your family appeared on the cover of our sports magazine. You know, you graced the cover of the Basia Sports magazine, and that was so amazing. I think those children are now grown adults.
Very much so.
Right.
Yes.
Look at that beautiful.
Can you imagine?
You and your wife, Desha, and all of those kids. I don't think I would know them if I see them. And then, of course, you supported me, as I said earlier in our intro, during my own battle with breast cancer when you appeared on my then Caribbean talk show. We're now in the US, of course, both of us. But those were the days. What is life?
Life continues to life, you.
Life with life, Shaka. But I want to look at the bright side. I mean, my friend, you look amazing. And I am sure that your beautiful wife, Desha, is taking amazing care of you as she always does. I mean, you guys
I'm
have been
spoiled.
together forever, and this must have been quite shocking for you and the entire family. So before we get into it, thank you for trusting Basia TV, as always. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for choosing
Of
me.
course. Of course.
And it's a full circle moment. Let's go.
I'm looking forward to this. Really am.
All right, Shaka. I don't normally go on Instagram early in the morning. It's not my practice. My routine is as such. I get up quite early and I meditate and I stay away from social media. I say my prayers and I listen to some really conscious things. And for some reason, I had the phone in my hand because I was listening to my favorite gospel music. Because I myself, I've been through my transition and my healing journey. So I live my life in a particular way now. Back then when we were doing that interview, you would refer to me as Alicia, I'm now Basia, daughter of God. It's just been, this is a thing that can take you down a different road. And I just, for some reason, I don't know, I just press Instagram. I don't go on Instagram early in the morning. And I see this thing. I'm like, oh my God. It floored me. It floored me. Of course, it wouldn't floor you because you've known about this for some time. And take us back to the moments that you're told that you have prostate cancer. Shaka Hislop has prostate cancer. What is the first thing that went through your mind when your doctor said to you, confirmed that this was up?
That's an interesting question, and I remember it. I remember it quite well. And I'll be honest. The only thing that went through my mind is that, okay, this is a fight here now. And listen, I'm a competitor by nature.
Yes.
That competitive streak in me has underpinned all of my successes, whether it's professionally, whether it's in my private or public life, whether it's academically. I've been a competitor first. And I remember being told, and no, I'd never felt afraid.
Really?
Concern wasn't on my mind. It was purely, I describe it as, I understand why they say fighting cancer. Because this was a fight. I didn't see it. It didn't land any other way. And I took it very matter-of-factly in that way. And that was the kind of start, and that remained my mindset through ringing the bell on December 3rd. I'm not going to lie, I had some tough days, I took some punches, but I felt I landed my fair share as well. And so happy to be here, ringing the bell and sharing that.
Yeah, we are happy that you're here because, listen, that was some shocking news. And it reminds you that you see people every day, and you just don't know what they're going through.
Everybody has their battles, and I think that was
I
one.
mean,
That was
nobody
one.
knew. Nobody knew. And you've been in contact with my husband, your bro, never came up. Nobody would know.
It was important to me to maintain as normal a routine as possible. And again, I had my days, you know, where that wasn't possible. Just psychologically, it was tough.
Yeah.
99% of the time, it was important to me that I continued my daily routine as best I can. I had a month off of work when I had my prostatectomy, understandably. Other than that, I did not take any time off than push time off. My family and I went away as a family over the summer. But I generally take the holidays and my kids' birthdays off as holidays at work. But other than that, nothing changed. And it was important to me to maintain that routine. It was important to me to continue to feel that I was dictating this journey.
Wow. I think as you say that, I remember, which when you appeared on my show, it was about 16 years ago. You just started at ESPN, actually. And for me, I remember wanting to shave my hair. I didn't want my hair to fall off. So I quite understand your desire to take control because you want to know that you still have some amount of control. And I think, I don't want anybody to get us wrong. I think more importantly is the control of the mind.
Of course. Listen, I'm also a big believer in maintaining, as you say, Basha, maintaining that control. dictating the narrative, whatever that narrative may look like, both during and after the course of your journey.
Yeah.
You're an example to me, and I don't say that dismissively. I don't say that just because of where we are sitting and this moment that we're sharing. I also think of Nicole Dyer Griffith and her journey with cancer, and the dignity, the strength that you both exhibited. By comparison, my journey was a cakewalk to what you all endured, yet still you all continue to be an example to women, and dare I say, men the world over, whether you know it or not. I was able to take example from that. I was able to feed into that, to that energy. And that got me a lot further than I think either of you may know or recognize. And similarly, for me, which is why it was important that I say something. You all use your platform in addressing a health concern that many women are victims of.
Yes.
Similarly, many men are victims of prostate cancer.
Men don't talk, Shaka.
Men don't talk. Men don't talk. At the same time, and this is deeply personal to me, and I guess this leads into the strength of my wife. My father-in-law died of prostate cancer, so I cannot imagine the emotions that she inevitably was going through.
Get into that,
Correct.
just
She was going through a set of emotions that I cannot imagine. Now, she has to be there. She probably feels a duty to be there and to be strong for me, and to allow me to be weak in moments that I needed to be. But she lost her father from this exact disease. So I cannot imagine how that impacts someone and how that takes away from their own strength.
Yeah.
And then I was also needing her strength to carry me through my own journey. So there's so many aspects to this.
And just for us to give a little perspective on your marriage with your wife. Listen, guys, you have to understand that Shaka and Desha have love story like no other. You're a childhood sweethearts, essentially, right? She is the love of your life. I am telling you, like, a lot of people don't know that, but I think I am glad that I am the person who had to fight cancer when I did. Because I don't know that I would have been as strong if the tables were the other way around. I know I could manage. I'm a fighter. I am a Doberman, a Chihuahua, a German Shepherd, all of the breeds. Even a horse and an eagle on top of it if there was such a But I am going back to your wife. And, she strikes me as the type of woman, like, yeah, touch me, but don't touch my man kind of woman. You know how women of our era, that's who we are. And I know this must, and now that you're telling me that her dad was, diagnosed and, he's no longer with us, this must have been such a burden to carry emotionally and otherwise. But
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
A testimony to how a man chooses a wife. You did well.
I am both the luckiest man on this planet and have been blessed more than I am deserving in so many ways.
You've been blessed the right way. I tell people all the while, choose your wife, not just from a place of abundance, but from a place of adversity. Because that's when you know who you have. So, I mean, at this rate, you have been together for so many years. I don't think you needed to have this to know who you have. You know who you have already. 5 children later. Still 5, right? It was 5 on my...
5, yeah. 5, yeah, 5. Yeah. No more additions.
No more additions. We'll get back to this. I want to ask you about this because I purposely did not share this video, but most certainly can recall another scare you gave us, right? When you fainted live on ESPN.
Yeah.
I have asked my producers not to show the video because so many of us remember that frightening day. And everybody's, you hear what happened to Shaka? You hear what happened to Shaka? I mean, I don't want to see the physical impact because it was very terrifying. The world was shaken up. Soccer fans around the world like, what the hell? We were scared. But we were later relieved to find out that you were okay and we thanked God. However, I must ask you today, was this incident any way tied?
No, it wasn't.
What we would eventually know to be your diagnosis?
No, it wasn't. I put that down firmly as a one-off. Would also call it a warning shot in that as I reflect on the day and for I ever since then I've had a heart monitor implanted which tracks my heart rhythms 24/7. Ever since then, there's been no abnormality to those heart rhythms. So I think it's a one-off. As I reflect on the day and what led up to it, I also feel, and this kind of comes with the territory of being a professional athlete. In so many ways, you feel you're bulletproof. So many ways you feel you can do it all. I specifically remember on the day, so this was out in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up very early that morning. I think it was about 3 o'clock LA time to watch the Women's World Cup where it was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Jamaica played Brazil that morning.
Yeah.
So I woke up to watch Jamaica, Brazil. Couldn't go back to sleep. So went to the gym and just kind of overdid it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get out to go out on air. I wasn't feeling particularly well during the course of the day, but it was only supposed to be a 6 to 8 minute hit. So I thought, I could do this, no problem. I'll do this and head back home. And of course, it everything kind of unfolded as it did. So I use that as a little bit of a warning shot. Well, one, I'm quite clearly not as young as I used to be. I have to be more mindful of my own limitations.
Yeah.
I'm not quite as bulletproof as I thought I was, or felt I was at any point in my life, and just had to kind of manage my own body, manage my own schedule, a little bit more carefully.
You were just a little burnt out and exhausted.
I have a tendency to do that. I
We all.
never felt that anything could affect me in any way, that I was, too strong, too big for it all. But Mother Nature has a way of bringing us down a peg or two when we get that way.
So let me ask you something. Be real now. Just keeping it real, Shaka.
Mm-hmm.
This doctor look at Shaka and say, Shaka, you have prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a time, at any time, especially during those treatments, because we know how tough that can be, was there ever a time that you asked, why me?
No. Throughout, I did say, thanks, it is me. I'm not a religious person.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I'm spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
but I made peace with my God.
Yeah.
In that it was me and not anybody else.
Yeah.
If my God came to me before and said, like somebody in your family is going to get cancer, I'd volunteer it to be me. So I was thankful.
Yeah.
I was not at all angry. I was not at all questioning. I was thankful.
Yeah. I believe you. I couldn't assign that to anybody else. I felt like I could have been.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
It is.
It is, huh?
Yeah. Listen, I was.
I feel an easy one.
So I tell one story. So I had my operation at the cancer center out of New York. And just to paint the picture how it's laid out, you come in on the ground floor, you get to reception, you go up a few floors. I can't remember how many, 3, I can't remember how many, but you go up a few floors to what is the patient waiting area, where you get to go with your family. You wait there until your name is called, nurse comes to get you, and from there on in, you can go to the operating floor or the rooms for the patients. But that second journey up, you're only allowed to go with one family member. When my wife was out of town with my son, he had a soccer tournament, and again, even though she wanted to stay, I was insistent that she go with him because again, I wanted my life to continue to progress as normally as ever. So one of my daughters came with me. My second daughter, Kaja, came with me. We get to reception. We go upstairs to the patient reception. And then as my nurse comes out and calls my name, another nurse comes out and calls another young lady's name. And as we're getting into the elevator, I'm stepping into the elevator with my daughter. This young lady steps into the elevator with her mother, and her father stands outside the doors. And I could not take my eyes off him. He could not take his eyes off his daughter. And I knew at that moment that he would give his life to switch positions with his daughter.
Yeah.
And here I was living his greatest wish at that moment, that it was me and not my daughter that was going up to the room.
Shaka, don't make me cry.
I've been at complete peace with my maker ever since.
Sorry. It's funny that you say that, right? Because Ricardo will tell you that, shortly after I recovered from breast cancer, we moved to the United States of America. And this is not a lie. This is real talk, guys. I can provide the receipts. And as soon as we landed in this country, as you know, at the time, Ricardo had gotten that gig with ESPN, thanks to somebody we know. The first thing I did Because every time I go somewhere new to live, we take out life insurance policies, etc. And to connect what you said about that guy and switching places, I always then decide, where am I going to do my tithing? And somebody said, American Cancer Society, because, they felt, well, naturally, that's where you'd want to do it. And oh, yes, I would give to them. But you know where I chose? For the reason you just said, to this day, that money comes out automatically. St. Jude's. Because I said to God, I said, I want St. Jude's because I'm so grateful that you chose me and not one of my children. So the fact that you're saying this to me, it means that for those of us who choose to be grateful through the process and choose to be mindful, we realize that any day we would take the hit for our own.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how parents do it.
Nor do I.
I am so grateful that St. Jude has this huge platform that they could even help parents who don't have the money when kids are diagnosed with cancer. So for you to say that is incredible.
I mean, I agree. I think the toughest part of this journey is bearing witness to parents who are there with their kids and questioning what they must be going through, how they're handling it. I'll also say, so during the course of my radiation, as I mentioned in the video, I had 7.5 weeks of radiation treatment. You do that 5 days a week. I don't want to, kind of overplay
No, that
what
wears
it
you
was.
out.
No. Radiation is a really simple process, especially when you compare it to chemotherapy. You kind of slide into a tube, almost like an MRI. You're there for 10 minutes, and away you go. Fine. But you get there, and again, there's a waiting room for patients, and everybody's there for the same thing. So there's this kind of quiet community, as I describe it. Everybody knows why each other's there. Everybody just staying to themselves, quietly supporting the person sitting in a chair 10 feet away. But then there are parents who come with kids. That's tough. That was tough. Never had a conversation with any of them. But you could feel how the temperature in the room changed in recognizing when parents were there, in witnessing children ring the bell. It takes on a different meaning, a different impact when you bear witness to that. So I totally understand why you felt the need and continue to feel the need to contribute to St. Jude.
St. Jude, I said St. Jude would always and forever get likes.
Their work is so much more impactful than,
And it's for the reason you identified.
correct, than how it's advertised, than how the commercials come across on screen.
Yeah.
It's far deeper than that.
It's far deeper. That place is incredible. But yeah, so let's go back to your Instagram post, right? That moved people across the world. And you chose transparency over silence. And that's not something most men would do, with a diagnosis like this. I mean, we come from a culture that makes us feel that for a man, in the same manner that breast cancer attacks what people seem to think that it attacks a woman's femininity. Allegedly, from our culture and from the Black culture, prostate cancer is seen as something that attacks your manhood. I mean, do you see it that way? Because I don't.
No.
Okay. Because breast cancer did not attack my femininity either.
The one thing I will say, Basia, to that is I have never kind of questioned my own masculinity, my own position on this planet. I don't want to say understand, but I recognize the bravado that many men feel they need to show in projecting their masculinity.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to it, but I recognize it. And so I recognized the need for me to come out and be honest, be open about my own journey. But at the same time, I'll say, while it wasn't a decision that came lightly, certainly not a decision that I regret.
Yeah.
So much of my life, my entire adult life, has been lived in the public eye.
Yeah.
Whether as a footballer or as a broadcaster. I have been very careful to protect the private side of my life. I don't do interviews in my house.
I remember
Just little things like that. My private life is private.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do an interview, I'll come to you, or we'll meet in a hotel, and do it in
You
the
met at
lobby, or
Grand
whatever it
Lara's
may be.
house for your magazine cover, remember?
Correct. I don't have people in my house. That's private.
Can I ask,
I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share.
at what stage of your life you made that brilliant?
Very early on, as a footballer. Well, the only interview I did in my house was just after I just joined Newcastle back in 1995.
Right.
I'd never done another interview in my house since.
You did the interview at your home in Newcastle or Trinidad?
In Newcastle.
So why did you do that interview there?
But I was young in the game. I mean, I had come from Reading, which is in the lower leagues, and the media is not as intrusive
Aggressive.
as when you get to the Premier League. And I just joined. My mom was visiting.
Yeah.
Both my brothers were there.
Yeah.
And I was happy to do it. And then as my career kind of progressed, and I recognized how the media operates in the UK, I stopped them.
They're terrible.
They will trample all over your
What
floors.
they used to do to Yorkie. He got it.
They go drag dirt on your floors. They go walk dirt all over your
Yorkie
floor.
got it.
I stopped, So I had no problem in this instance giving people that insight into a private side of my life, or my private life as it currently exists.
Yeah. So you wanted to tell this story, and I love the fact that you did it on your own terms, because we already knew that we had this setup, right? What I didn't know was what our interview would roll into, but you knew.
Yeah, I did. So to tell the full story to your listeners, to your viewers, Ricardo contacted me to do an interview, and I think we were talking about doing it last week or a couple of weeks ago. And I told him, let's wait till next week. I feel it'll be more impactful.
Yes.
It'll be more impactful then. I'd always kind of intended to say something after my final treatment. I wasn't quite sure what I'd say or exactly when I'd do it.
Aaron, that you and Ricardo have just been in discussions with many other business things.
Correct.
Guys, this never came up. We did not have a clue.
It was, like I say, it was important to me that life continued to life. It really was. It really was.
I respect.
But I knew I was going to say something.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to say something
On your own terms. I like it.
Yeah, on my terms.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. In some ways, I felt there would be a response, but I didn't anticipate it would be as great a response as it was. I recorded it close to midnight on the 3rd, the day of my last radiation session, the day I rang the bell, and switched my phone off and just left it off. And then by the time I turned it on, probably around 10ish the next day, it's kind of things kind of got crazy at that point.
I got
Things got kind of crazy at that point.
And I'm like, babe, and he's like, he was quiet. I'm like, are you gonna say something? So yeah, I'll reach out to him. That was that.
And it was appreciated. And that's I'm fine.
Yeah, well, we're just so glad you're fine. And Shaka, I don't wanna, not for the purpose of this interview, but you've always been outstanding on and off the field. You've
Thank you.
always been a pillar of, what it means to be a real sportsman off the field.
Thank you very much.
You've set the best example for young men, and not just by the way you treated your wife, but just the way you carried yourself off the field. Like, you are the athlete that every mother would want their son to be like. You made it. You didn't fall into the stereotype then. And I think that's what you and Ricardo admire about each other a lot.
Thank you very much. I think there's a lot there. First of all, let me say, my dad passed in last year of August, and in him I had the best example of what a man was. No, let me tell you, my dad lived a full life. He died at 90 years old.
Wow.
He had an outsized impact. He was the example of manhood as we know it today, at a time that was not how masculinity was recognized or measured.
Yeah.
So I had the best example. And all I could do is hope to continue continuing that example.
Yeah.
I've tried to be no more.
Yeah.
I've tried to be no more than who my father was.
Yeah.
The journey that he initiated
That
for me and my brothers.
male role model is key for our boys. I have no doubt that your son would continue the same role modeling.
He's an incredible young man.
Yeah.
As are my daughters. I've got 5 incredible children. The only issue with having 5 incredible children, as I do, is you then start to question: does the parent make the child, or does the child make the parent? Now, I grew up feeling it was the parent that made the child. I
Yeah.
looked at my father as an example, as an
Yes.
inspiration, as somebody I could only long to be like.
Yeah.
But now I see all those qualities in my children,
Yeah.
and how they continue to inspire me the same way. So I've settled on.
They
I've
had the best examples.
I see that we disagree on that.
No, they had the
It
best
skips a
examples in
generation.
you and Basia.
That's why I'm settled. It skips a generation. I've
No,
just found
no, no,
myself
no,
in
no,
the
no.
middle of 2 generations of incredible people. She committed her life to support me chasing a football around a football field.
I know.
She did.
I know. And for that, I have amazing respect for her. So she deserves, in Jesus' name, to have you go as long as your father did, because she didn't work this hard for nothing, not to have her guy at her side rocking. And,
I'm confident that I'll make it there.
yes, you will. You will. You talked about your faith and more so spirituality versus religion, but I like to talk about all these things in relation to faith, because like you, I'm more spiritual than religious. So for me, it's not a religion thing, but it's that beautiful connection that I have with God that has always served me well. And in moments like this, many people either lean deeper into their faith or they begin questioning everything. Where was your faith, I'd say, when you received this diagnosis in comparison to where it is today? Did it make you grow deeper in your faith? For me, it did. What was your situation? Like, how has it helped you?
I'll say, I'll put it like this. It didn't make me grow deeper into my faith. It made me grow deeper into my purpose.
Okay.
So why I'm here.
Yeah.
The stories I get to tell.
I get that.
The audiences I get to tell those stories to. That was the most meaningful shift in my life.
Wow. I say to people all the time, like my line, and this is my line as a cancer thriver, as Robin Roberts likes to refer to it, is cancer didn't come to take my life. It came to teach me how to live. I remember feeling that way. I remember those words rushing to me and feeling that way. And every single day that God allowed me to be on this earth, Shaka, that line inspired me. That feeling, it was more of a feeling. I look at people who take so many things for granted. I am one girl, I don't take anything for granted. Nothing. No, every moment is a celebration for me. Like, where we now live in Naples is as a result of that type of thinking from that experience, where I will celebrate the sunset. I get my joy from very simple things, even though I would like to think we live a rich life. And now when I say that, the internet goes mad because I'm not speaking about money here. I'm not speaking about material things, because at that moment, and when you're blessed enough to overcome something like that, and you have other people, some of whom we know together, who didn't make it, you realize that you cannot pack anything and go with it. But you have this urgency about living, that purpose, that people don't necessarily understand if they haven't had that experience. I'm just excited to get up in the morning. I love the smell of coffee. Even if I don't drink it, it brings me joy.
Yeah. I drink it. I drink way too much of it, to be quite honest.
Joy.
Yeah, but I fully understand what you're saying. I won't go as far as to say I feel like I've been given a second chance at life, or it hasn't hit me that deeply. But like I say, I do feel it's given me an added purpose
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah.
How I speak about it, how I articulate my journey, how I use my platform to urge men to get tested, to don't take health for granted, that there's nothing really overly brave about avoiding a doctor's visit.
Yeah.
This, is a part of being human. This is a part of growing up. That kind of has been my focus, and that continues to be.
Yeah.
It's important to me, and don't get me wrong, I understand and I recognize how this disease has affected people differently
Yeah.
in any number of ways.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's entitled to that journey, whatever that journey looks like. And we've also got to understand that that's what makes this life beautiful. How we're able to traverse our own challenges.
Yeah.
How none of us represents a unity.
Yeah.
We all speak to different sections of humanity, of sisterhood. People, as I mentioned off the top, in case of both your journey, Basia, and Nicole Dyer Griffith, people are
Context of all
affected.
listeners around the world, because we are a North American platform. Nicole Dyer Griffith is a former Miss Trinidad and Tobago who was recently diagnosed with an aggressive type of cancer. So just in case our viewers are wondering who are we talking about, but we have the person in common. We know who we're talking about. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Seeing how she used her platform, seeing how you use your platform, and understanding that there are young women, and I hope you now recognize there are also grown men who take heart from that journey. I think oftentimes we don't give enough credit to the silent impacts that courage has.
Yeah. 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 You're right. You're right, Shaka Hislop. Yeah. It's really, if more of us just had a little bit more courage, just one more cup or half cup, this world would have been a better place, because
Been different. Would have been different.
the courage to go tell somebody hi, the courage to go get checked out so that you can find something early, the courage to try something new because you don't want to die with these visions or dreams inside of you. I don't know, but I just got more excited about living. That was my experience. I was like, shit, I got shit to do. I think you know what, Shaka? I became braver. Is that a thing? Like, I was like, I ain't got nothing to lose because you can't get out to life.
Correct. And I think that's important to lean into.
Yeah.
Whatever that bravery looks like, or wherever it takes you, it's important to lean into it.
Yeah. You've always been strong in public, confident, grounded, but privately, there must have been a moment. Describe, how would you define, because this thing can affect your mental health. And I'll give you an example for me and a very close relative of mine who's a man who recently went through a different type of cancer from you, but was touch and go for a moment. One day I said to him, so you tell me how this has affected you. I said to him, I know he was going to get screened. The screening has always been the mental part.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk the truth and help the people. Screening for me, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly until today, but my husband knows, and close relatives of mine, they know. But screening was the hardest part as a cancer survivor. Has it been for you?
Yeah.
That's where it gets into the mental health. And I tell you why. So one day my oncologist, who was in Miami, because I got treated in the US, fortunately, we had the right type of insurance. And she said to me, listen, Shaka, if my head hurt me, it's related to that. If my toe give me a dig, it's related to that. If I feel something in my hand. And she said to me, she was the sweetest oncologist, a Cuban-American doctor that I have by the name of Dr. Mary Jo Villar. She's been on my show over the years. And she said, sweetie, honey, other things are allowed to happen to you besides cancer.
Yeah.
Because particularly, just again, from the culture, and this is a universal culture, you feel that every symptom might be attached to this now, when not necessarily.
Yeah, no.
That.
I'd grown used to aches and pains. I'd grown used to having aches and pains on a regular.
That part, trying to now live your life and not feel that every symptom of some other kind is related to that initial diagnosis. Because to me, that's been, nobody's ever asked me, but I'm asking you, but that's been the greatest hurdle that I had to overcome over the past 16 years.
Yeah, no, as you dated, obviously you got your first diagnosis when you were much younger. We were both much
I
younger.
was a spring chicken.
Well, so, but I at my age, I'll just wake up with knee pain.
Ah,
I'll
right,
go
but
to bed feeling
you
fine.
wouldn't associate a little pain with that.
And yeah, so I
I'm an
am
athlete.
used to,
Yes, I recall.
exactly. I'm at an age now where I will go to bed feeling 100% fine and wake up with a stiff neck.
Yeah.
Or wake up with knee pain, man. Cause so I'm quite used to that.
Shaka, you should see.
And I had no additional pains as a
Yeah, well,
result
then
of.
that makes sense. Our bedroom has 2 heated pods plugged in on either side of the bed.
Yep. Yeah. I am most used to those challenges.
Right.
The toughest part is, as you mentioned, oddly was going for screenings. I'd be fine for 2 months and 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And
Those screenings.
that day that you go for regular checkups every 3 months, that day
Yeah.
was always the toughest
Yeah.
of that 3 months. And
You told me that
it's
that
hard to
was tough
explain.
day. I'd be like, who's your doctor?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the toughest part. So, yeah. So
Mentally, psychologically, that was always the most
every
difficult.
PET CT scan day was like, take a deep breath until you get those results,
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's mirror that.
But in saying that, I raise that but I also want to raise the fact that modern medicine and scientific research in the area of all forms of cancer has been very good to us. They say the world is changing, too much technology and technology is taken away. But we don't talk about the advantages of what such a world has done for us in the area of modern medicine.
Correct.
And things like PET CT scans and so much advanced pre-diagnostic and post-diagnostic treatments, etc. We've come a long way. That has people like us alive today.
Correct. And I trust in that science. I trust in those doctors.
Yeah.
And added layer to that, my best friend on the planet, Dr. Wayne Frederick,
I was gonna talk about that. Yeah.
from Diamond Vale, we went to
Right.
CIC together, we went to Howard together.
Oncologist.
Is a surgical oncologist.
Yeah.
And he was the second person I told of my diagnosis.
Obviously.
After my wife, of course. And he kind of walked me through each step of the entire process.
Yeah.
And it was only recently when I rang the bell that we had a long conversation about how that affected him and his family.
Can I just pause you there to put into context who Dr. Frederick is? Of course, yes, one of the best surgical oncologists in the world. I'm not saying this because he's from Trinidad and Tobago, but some of you would know him as, I don't think he's the president of Howard University anymore, is he?
He's back as the interim president of Howard University.
My God, praise God. Well, we
Yes.
got to celebrate that. So now he is the president once again of Howard University, but he's also Shaka's best friend. So so he's now treating you advising you as a patient, but this is your
Correct.
best friend and it must have affected his own psyche.
Of course it does. And now here you have a man who's seen cancer, treated cancer, dealt with cancer patients his entire life. And having to do it with a different layer,
Yeah.
a very personal layer to that. He posted the day I was told him of my diagnosis, he signed to be the interim CEO of the American Cancer Society. So here you have a surgical oncologist. He had served on the board for some time.
Yeah.
Signing on to be the interim CEO on the very day that I tell him. Of course, I wasn't aware that he had signed that day.
Wow.
I was far more selfishly focused, I freely admit.
No.
On the
there's no
very day.
selfish in this diagnosis.
Well, on the very day that he that he signed and served as interim CEO at the American Cancer Society up to September of this year.
Yeah.
When he moved from there directly into being interim president of Howard University.
But yes.
So there's a lot of layers to this, but I'm thankful that I had someone to be there to kind of walk me through every single thing,
you are lucky
what every single number meant.
to have a best friend who is a surgical oncologist, one of the best in the world in the U.S.
Correct.
Yeah, lucky man.
I am.
You know,
I'm the luckiest man on the planet. I maintain that.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that. And for those of you, we've been talking for an hour. We're not finished and we haven't taken a break. My producers will be like, what is going on here? For those of you listening around the world and on Spotify, YouTube, everywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, don't forget to share this with at least 3 of the men in your life, because every man needs to be encouraged by his wife, his daughter, his mother, his somebody to go get checked. Go get screened. Go get checked. Don't be afraid. Early is perfect. Early detection saves lives. Go get checked. Don't be afraid. We're going to take a bit of a break because, there's so much layers to cover. You're watching the Basia TV podcast, and I'm hanging out with my friend, Shaka Hislop, legendary soccer player and goalkeeper, now ESPN, analyst and commentator. We'll be right back. Yeah.
This segment is brought to you by 124 Not Out Cricket Academy, based in Georgia and Florida, USA.
Welcome back, guys. It's your girl Basia, and I'm hanging out with legendary soccer player Shaka Hislop. Now, Shaka, before we went to break, we were talking about the mental health aspect of this. And, I also wanted to ask you, did this in any way, I know you alluded to it at the top, but did at any moment, did you feel any sort of way about your manhood? I mean, we know where the prostate is. God bless you with 5 children. You don't need no more. So we ain't really need it, right?
Yeah.
We can tell it bye, right? But, in Caribbean culture, men are often taught to be strong in silence, no weakness, no vulnerability. And, what message do you want men, Black men, and in particular Caribbean men, to hear right now based on what you've been through and what you've experienced? What message do you have for them?
I will say laughingly, modern medicine is a hell of a thing. To put that in its fullest perspective, listen, I understand some of the issues around having your prostate removed.
Yeah.
And I also understand, and again, speaking about manhood and saying culturally how we lean into that and how that is defined.
Yeah.
And how so many men are avoidant of being treated for prostate cancer because they cling to these definitions of manhood. But I am here to say that modern medicine works wonders.
Shaka, let's just get it. To clear the record, they don't need to be afraid. The engine working.
That's right. The car's still driving.
The car's driving. Now, it might sound funny for a lot of people, but let me tell you why it's not funny and why it's important for us to say that. Because a simple disclosure of modern medicine and just how you are able to function in a post-operative way gives someone hope. I'll tell you this. I remember during my breast cancer journey, I remember my doctors saying, we need to put you into menopause. Now, I am in my mid-30s. And because they're going to remove as a part of my post-operative treatment, they're going to remove my ovaries. So obviously that puts me into instant menopause. Now, I didn't want any more children or anything like that. So that wasn't the issue. But the issue for me, again, the culture always sets us up, right? The issue for me in our culture is hearing that, okay, you know what? If you go into menopause, you're not going to feel to have sex. You see how wrong cultural information can really mess us up in terms of taking crucial decisions to save our lives?
Yeah.
So I literally felt, this is years ago, guys, but I'm being very vulnerable here because my friend Shaka Hislop is we're literally on 2 opposing sides and give the best information because prostate cancer is the brother cancer to breast cancer, right? So we've lived it, we've done it, and we want to tell people who need to go out and get tested. Don't let these wrong types of information stop you. I thought after the doctor said that they're going to have to put me in menopause, I thought that I was going to be this woman who never felt to have sex in my life again.
Mm-hmm.
That's rubbish. Poor girl is, still watching the sunset and still living life and still happy and still feeling vital and everything good. Don't let these things. And the reason we're being funny about it, but vulnerable, is because some of these things stop people from going.
They do.
I had a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction. I remember somebody saying, you think your husband will still want you? Say, well, he never wanted me for my breast. Let's be very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And these stupid cultural things just mess people up from making the right decisions. And, Shaka, breasts them turn out to be kind of better, the ones that I paid for.
Yeah, listen, to that point, I think there's a lot that comes with it, and to your point about going through menopause, I'm going to be enduring something similar for the next 3 years. The medication that I'm on, and I have to stay on for 3 years, suppresses my testosterone.
Yeah.
Cancer feeds off of testosterone.
Understood.
But similarly, I see that as a challenge. So now my challenge is a mental one over my physicality. How I
Exercise.
Correct. How can I maintain some kind of physical shape without testosterone? Oh, and now again, I frame everything as a challenge, as a contest. I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
So now it's me against that side of medical science, and similarly around intimacy with my wife. This is mental. Even if I do not have that kind of instinct,
Yeah.
without embarrassing my wife too much, I have the memory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, by our beautiful stage in life, because it's either you're here or you're not here, right?
mhm,
I believe, and I speak for Desha and other women, what keeps us here is not physical activity, is love, honor, protection, and respect,
mhm,
Like the love that I have for my husband now, I didn't have that level of love at 25 or 26, 27. And for me, as I get older, intimacy is way more important than action. Intimacy is very important.
mhm,
And we don't need testosterone or estrogen to create intimacy.
mhm,
So we don't want people to be afraid of doing what they need to do
mhm.
because of these cheap ideas about like your life done if your testosterone is lower. Or I tell you this, I have friends going through menopause now, and I'm glad I'm not dragging through that thing. That rough. That is so rough, But this is life. If we're gonna be here, Shaka, we have to pay a certain price to be here. No.
Yeah.
So we either choose to be here or we choose to go on to the
All
next
of
chapter.
correct. Absolutely.
And we want to be here longer with our family and friends. And the people who really love us, they
Mhm.
want the living, working person, the healthiest version of us, which is in our minds and our attitude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Agreed. Absolutely. And that's all I'm focused on.
that's all.
Being a husband to my wife, a father to my children.
Yeah. And
Everything else is a
that's a
bonus.
blessing,
Absolutely. Mhm.
That's a blessing. But oh my God. Yeah. Thank you for going there with me. Because again, a testimony to how real champions are not afraid to be authentic and vulnerable. You talk about purpose, and I believe that this has given you a stronger sense of purpose. Yeah, but can you
I've always felt strongly about
new
purpose.
that you may have? How do you define this new purpose?
To a different community, to a different set of ears that
Yeah.
I had committed myself and my time to.
Yeah.
It's just part of living, part of who I am, part of my own identity. I have always said, and through the different things that I've been involved in,
Yeah.
if you want to change the world, start by changing your world.
Yeah.
And this just adds to that. It's an aspect of my world, of who
Yeah.
I am, of who I've always been, that maybe hadn't been in my focus, but now most firmly is. It just makes that my world
Yeah.
a little bit bigger.
Wow. Yeah. I think it's time for us to try and lighten up some stuff. And Thank you. Thank you for going.
You're most welcome.
So, Shaka, we have this segment, which is how we pay homage to our Caribbean origins, and it's called Pepper Pot, right? And it's meant to lighten up interviews such as this. You just need to give us like one word, or sometimes we might need 5 words or a sentence. So
Right.
I'll give you the guidance, but it's meant to be fun, and we just want to make sure that you enjoy it.
I've enjoyed everything. I've
You
found the
have?
whole
Okay,
conversation
right.
fun.
I'm glad you said that. So let's get into the pepper pot questions that our producers have prepared for Shaka Hislop. Rapid fire questions.
It's getting hot. We drop you in the pepper pot.
All right.
Hey, Shaka, you ready for this? 10
I
quick
am.
questions. First thing that comes to your mind, you tell me. Let's go. Sunrise on the beach or quiet family dinner at home?
Quiet family dinner at home.
I know you.
Unless you offer me sunrise on the beach with the family.
Right. Okay. See?
I'll take that.
Okay. What's one Caribbean food that instantly tastes like childhood to you?
Callaloo.
You're the first person to say that. A lot of people say roti or something. Yeah. What's something your wife, Desha, does that instantly calms your spirit? Oh my God.
Yeah, what kind of show is this? What we talk about? What we talk about exactly here? Okay, I'll keep it G.
Keep it PG.
Scratch my back.
Scratch your back. All right.
Yeah, well, without going down the wrong avenue here, fingernails down my back is very calming.
Very calming. Yeah, very
Yes.
nice. I understand that. Okay, number 4. What's one memory with your children that you hold close on a tough day?
I'm not sure I have an answer for that.
Okay.
I lean into different memories of my children on different days
'Cause you're
for
5.
different reasons. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no one answer. There's no one answer I
No
can
one
give to
answer.
that.
So
No.
don't you have an example out of one? Like, okay, choose the boy, because you have 1 boy and 4 girls.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is most recent or very recent.
Mhm.
He is an incredibly calming influence on me when I need it.
Wow.
In a way that I didn't anticipate.
Really?
At times I have to question who's the adult here.
That's why you don't get your son. Yeah.
I find that, yeah, I
That's
find
his role.
that it's and he plays it incredibly well.
Very nice. I wonder who he gets that from.
His grandfather.
Hey, grandfather. Okay. Who is the most surprising celebrity you've ever had a conversation with?
Most surprising celebrity.
Yeah. I guess
Wow, that's a very good question.
because you've met many, but maybe they left an indelible impression on you.
I guess probably the first name that comes to mind would be Viv Anderson, former England footballer,
Yeah.
first black captain of the England football team.
Yeah.
It was surprising because I grew up watching and admiring Viv Anderson.
Yeah.
And then I remember being out one evening and I
Yeah.
saw him. I was starstruck.
Really?
And he came over to me. And introduced himself
Yeah.
and had a conversation with me. And that for me, in terms of conversations with famous people,
Yeah.
impacted me greatest.
Wow. I got you. Okay. Next question. Which one of your kids gives the best advice? I think you just said, alluded. Even when you don't want to hear it. Is it the same person?
Best, I won't say he gives me great advice. I'm not sure advice is the right word.
Okay. You
No.
replace the word.
Well, I will say, I'm going to say the best advice I got that I can sit here and recall has become an important part of my life, I got from my eldest daughter.
Really?
I can't remember what sparked the conversation, but we were talking about diversity. It was probably about 5 years ago. So here I am as founding patron and president of what I proudly boast as the UK's largest anti-racism education charity. And she says to me that so often when we talk about diversity,
Yeah.
we see it through the lens of self-representation.
Ooh.
That me as a black man, when I talk about diversity, I don't fully appreciate that diversity as an umbrella includes women, includes the disabled. And that for me was impactful. And it changed a lot of how I think about the work that I do, and how I talk about the work that I do.
Yeah.
I will also add, kind of given given our audience and given the kind of cultural issues, supporting the LGBTQ community is also huge for me.
Yeah.
And in understanding what true diversity looks like.
Because let's be clear, based on our age, we are Gen X people. We didn't have the LGBTQ people in diversity many years ago.
I know this is supposed to be a fun segment, but I will say I also recognize that a lot of the language used to discriminate against the LGBTQ community, both in our culture and elsewhere, is the exact language that was used to discriminate against Black people 50 or
Agreed.
60 years ago.
Agreed. Totally.
And until we as a community, until we as a people recognize that parallel, I think we
Yeah.
won't fully understand or support the LGBT community in the way that they need to be and should be.
Yeah. 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 Wow. What's one small everyday moment that brings you joy right now? As I said earlier.
Drinking coffee.
For me, smelling the coffee. And I like the scent of soup as well. Real good soup.
Yeah, right. What I really like soup, now you can't beat the soup.
Yeah.
But if you ask me an everyday
I make the baddest soup on the planet, Shaka. Swear to you.
all right, I'll rather test that.
A nice chicken foot soup. You choose. Okay.
All right, okay. All right, no
Okay,
problem.
viewers, we're talking Caribbean talk now. Sorry. Okay.
I'm a coffee drinker, as I mentioned. I do not go a day without, or I try not to go a day without drinking a
Really?
good espresso. It's one of my quiet and simple pleasures.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine is watching the sunset, smelling the coffee, and anything at the what's on
So I will also say this. Well, again, kind of joking as we're joking about this, and some of the things and how how it impacts you.
Yeah.
During the course of this journey, especially over the last year. And well, I live in the northeast of the US. It's cold in the winters, but certainly during the spring and summer months,
Yeah.
I made it a duty to go to a coffee shop every single day by myself, buy an espresso, and sit quietly for 15 minutes, just me and a cup of coffee. That was my time. That was my time.
No. I hear that. The scent of coffee makes everything okay.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, I like that. If you could give your younger self one sentence of encouragement, what would it be?
It'll all work out. It'll all work out.
It all comes together in the end, right? What's something people would be shocked to learn you're absolutely obsessed with? Coffee.
Absolutely obsessed with cooking.
Cooking? Really? Oh my God. Me too.
I find a peace in the kitchen. I ain't no cook. I ain't gonna invite you to my house for no chicken foot soup. But I love to cook.
Yeah, I love to cook as well. But it's I don't, if I feel like I have to cook, it's a whole different experience from wanting to cook. Because for me, it's a creative expression. This is how I express love for my family and friends, by cooking.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. Okay. Y'all, Shaka is a big chef. Okay, cool.
No, I just see once I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I was as a matter of fact, I was particular to say that I was not. Right.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. So here's this one again. So complete the sentence. This is the last one on the pepper pots, right? Complete the sentence to me. Cancer did not break me. It taught me.
It taught me that this life is worth living every single day.
Yeah. Do you feel as though you took it for granted a little bit before this diagnosis? Okay, good. Then you're in a good place. Okay, so we have this segment that I like to call our last, that we know that it's perhaps going to be one of our most important segments for the legacy of the Basia TV podcast in North America in years to come. We recently introduced this segment. I'm so sorry our earlier guests weren't a part of it, but we're going to have them back, like how we're going to have you back. And let's go into our last, producers, roll that clip. Okay. We asked this at the end of every interview to our guests now. The question is, if you can change one thing in the world right now, just one, what would it be?
I would like the world to be truly equal.
Agreed, but good luck with that.
You asked me for one thing I gave.
Yeah, but that's what you want. Yeah.
What kind of Santa Claus you is, Gil? What kind? I thought I was on the nice list.
Sorry. No, you are on the nice list. But Santa Claus has a budget. So he has to fit into that budget. Some people might get left out this year. So yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we could have equality?
Absolutely. I think we all have our role to play in that.
Yeah.
We never live in that world.
Yeah.
But we all have our role to play in someone at some point being able to boast as much.
Shaka, I don't know. I know that this interview isn't over. I know that a huge part of this particular podcast is over. I know we have some more things. You and I have a lot to accomplish individually, and you have more stories to tell. You have so much life in you, and you've been one of the gifts on this planet, and you'll continue to be. But thank you for doing this. Thank you for being candid. Thank you for showing up the only way that Shaka Hislop knows how to.
Thank you very much for having me, Basia.
I give God thanks that we are able to sit on the other side of this and have a conversation. We don't want to do it for this reason only, and we don't want to do it 16 years later. We will be here in Jesus' name 16 years later. The next time we meet, it would not be health challenges. Continue to do an amazing job. Flying the flag of the Caribbean, and in particular Trinidad and Tobago high at ESPN. You've put us on the map for so many reasons, and we're just proud.
Thank you very much.
We're just proud.
Thank you very much.
You're a son of the soil, and whenever things are not right with you, it affects many households throughout the Caribbean because you're so well respected.
Thank you very much.
I just want to remind everybody to share this interview with at least 3 of your friends on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. Guys, Shaka, once upon a time, you sat across from me as I fought for my life, and you gave me strength when I needed it the most. And today, the roles are reversed. And I want you to know, you don't walk this road alone. Your courage today will save lives tomorrow. Your voice will wake up men who have been silent for too long. So thank you. Your story will remind the world that even legends need support.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Basia.
This is bigger than football.
Absolutely it is.
This is bigger than fame. This is about life.
Thank you very much.
It's about life.
Thank you very much. It absolutely is. And it's my pleasure to be able to share this space with you yet again.
Yeah.
It really is.
Oh, God, it was special. So on behalf of my family, my platform, the Caribbean, and the global community, we stand with you, Shaka Hislop. We stand
Thank you very much.
with you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, guys, today, it was a beautiful interview. This has been absolutely amazing. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for supporting the Basia TV podcast. And I hope you enjoyed this interview and that you're going to share it with at least 3 of your friends. But until then, I want to just say, continue to find joy. However you need to find your joy, go find your joy, right? Joy is free. Stop complaining. Start living. Don't take life for granted. Life is simple. Enjoy the small things. We didn't have to be here, but I'm glad that we all are. So if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching this podcast, it means that you're above ground. So you just need to be grateful. You don't need to receive something to be grateful. You just need to be alive to be grateful. And that we are. And I'm grateful that we're all alive and we have a second chance at this thing called life. It's your girl Basia. Remember to live the life you love and love the life you live. I want to say this, you don't have to have cancer to die. So if you're diagnosed right now, don't be afraid. Or if you need to go get checked, don't be afraid, because cancer does not have to take your life. It can teach you how to live. I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Cheers.